Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you guys are new here, my name is Dion. I'm a photographer here in New York City. If you guys want to check out what I do, my work, behind the scenes stuff, please feel free to follow me on Twitter and Instagram is linked below for your convenience. Alright, for today's video, we will recap the very first episode of Bad Buddy the series. Now initially I was going to do a full review of the series after it ended, but I thought it might be fun to kind of do episode by episode as it comes out. Just a quick recap and give my thoughts and opinions on pivotal scenes in the show. Now, if you haven't seen the show, please go watch it if you don't want to be spoiled. But if you don't mind being spoiled or get through the video or the episode through this, continue watching. Now, before we get started, please, if you haven't done so, subscribe to the channel and also give this video a thumbs up. It really helps me out. And also, please, 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 please leave a comment on your thoughts and opinions on this episode. So the episode starts off, we see this guy running through this alleyway, it seems like, and by a bunch of different students at this school. I can tell they were students. At first, I thought it was a high school setting, but I saw like their colored button-up shirts, which always indicates that it's a college setting. This guy is getting chased, and we meet our first main character. His name is Pat, and he tells Homeboy, "Listen, we've got to jump you, but if you want." If you want, you can go call your homeboys up and help you fight. We down. Do it. Next, we cut to our second main character. His name is it's spelled Pran. Is it Prawn or Pran? I don't remember how they pronounce it, but I think it's Pran. He's in this like a classroom. He has all these art supplies everywhere, and it seems like he might be an architect type student, which I believe he is. Damn, was I watching the episode? How did I know this? He was doing, getting ready to, architect, and his homeboy comes in and says his homeboy, which is the one who was running. His name is Wai, Wai, or is it Y? How do you pronounce the A's in this in Thai? I think it's Y. Prawn and Y. Y is getting jumped, so of course he has to go help his homeboy. Okay, next we see the guys fighting each other. They're going at it. They're kicking. They're doing all the choreography. I'm not sure who choreographed this scene, but they did a good job. I think it's a good job they did, and I believe the actors are actually doing the stunts. It seems like I was shook, but we see that Pat gets the upper hand. The upper hand on Wai or Y. I'm gonna call him Wai. It's easier for me. He gets the upper hand on Wai, and as he, I guess, is gonna do the finishing blow, in comes Prawn with his drop kicking moves. He jumped in the air. He said, "Wop!" I was like, "Excuse me, where you come from? From up here?" Next, we had a flashback. Apparently, Pat and Prawn know each other from their youth. We should see them as kids, and they're fighting. Apparently, Pat's dad had this business, which I don't know what the business is. I saw some like woodwork, maybe. I don't know what his actual job is, but he feels that Prawn's dad was always jealous of him and took his business model and made his own competing business and even bought off his employees, which that is kind of intense. How you gonna make a business, the same business, and then, what is it, scout the competition's employees and I guess give them better pay or something, and you take them, which causes the families to feud. We get a scene of the dads arguing. They also live next door to each other, and they're like going at it about the divide between the houses. You can't put your trash here on my side and vice versa. They paint a line. It's so dramatic and childish. But then the moms get into it. We see the moms over here praying that their child, their unborn child, is the most handsome, gets the most girls. And then when they do have the babies, which is this scene right here, I thought was odd because the moms were in the street, right? They are in the street, cradling their babies and also talking mess to each other and being shady. Like, if y'all don't get in the house, it's hot. Y'all got these babies out here in this heat and y'all fighting. I don't understand. So then we learn why that Pat and his friends are trying to jump away and this whole fighting started is because the boys were out the previous night enjoying at the bar enjoying their sports game, and one half of the group, their team wins, and Wai is upset by that. He flicks them off because they're being all obnoxious about it, and then that's the reason why they decide to jump him at school the next day. Now, because of the school security or the dean or whoever that was, the boys disperse, run away. So then we cut to the boys having dinner with their families, Pat and Prawn, and we can see the difference between the two. Pat's family is a little more rough around the edges. He's slurping the food all loudly and being all rude. He has a sister, his mom and dad. Then we cut to Prawn's family. They are more refined, if you will. The boys are just talking, and they tell their respective families that they saw each other at school. They go to the same university now. Now the boys have grown up next to each other, and the families have always feuded, but they haven't seen each other in a few years, and now they reunited in college. And both dads are concerned. Actually, Prawn's mom is more concerned that she didn't realize that he was at this school with Pat. So she was kind of like, "Damn, I wish I would have known. I would have never, sent you there." Next, we see the boys outside at their parents' house, and there's some tension. A similar situation happens with the trash cans, like the dads, and I'm like, oh my gosh, here we go, generation type of situation. And they kind of have like little words with each other, and you can tell there's some tension between them, but they don't seem as antagonistic as their dads, it seems. And I was like, I wonder why, because they are antagonistic, obviously, but they're not as kind of like shouty and really really intense like the dads are, just slightly. So next we see Pat talking to his sister in his room, and apparently she doesn't want Pat to hurt Prawn for some reason. At this point, we were like, we don't know why. And he's like, why do I have to like not beat him up because he annoys me? And she's like, you know why? Promise me you won't hurt him. And he's like, I mean, all right, I guess. And I was like, I wonder why he agreed to that. What is the reasoning? Later we find out. But at that point, I was like, excuse me, yeah, you're not gonna tell us right here, right now? Okay, so next we see the next day at school. Pat's friends are like kind of trying to figure out a way to jump away again without his homies helping him, and they kind of get Pat to follow Prawn to kind of keep him away so it doesn't help his friend. Which they end up in. There's this like musical festival thing. They end up in the music room, which is kind of like, okay, this school looks familiar. I believe it's from like Lovesick or Make It Right. This whole university looks like an older setting for a other show from back in the day. You guys let me know if that's true or not. So he's following him, but he ends up losing him, and because he loses him, his friends mistake Prawn for Way, and they end up attacking him, which they realize their mistake quickly, but they're like, well, you his homeboys, so you getting jumped too. So they end up jumping Prawn, like right there in the school. And I'm like, what is happening? Now, I will say, Prawn, I see why they were kind of like weary of him. They wanted to get him out the way because he was holding his own. It was three against one, and he was. I mean, they got the upper hand eventually, but he was holding his own for a second. I was like, okay, come on. And then as he runs away, he runs into Pat and he saves him from being jumped by his friends. And I was like, okay, I wonder why he did that. Now, he did promise his sister, but still, like, I don't know why he was so adamant on saving him because he wasn't the one that was actually fighting him. But okay, go off. They are then saved by his sister. They part ways, and we get a flashback, and this is where we find out why the sister doesn't want him to get hurt. Apparently, she almost drowned, but Pat didn't save her, but Prawn did. He jumped in the water to save the sister. And ever since then, it seems like she, has, a soft spot for him because of that reason. And then that's why Pat agreed to not to hurt him, which I'm like, okay, cool, cool, cool. He's still antagonistic throughout, but I see why they're not as like antagonists as their parents. They have like an understanding. They're more like frenemies, if you will. But then we see that Pat just he just kind of sneaks into homeboy's window, Parnes' window, to tell him to back off and let him his friends beat up Way. Which, first of all, why is he over here sneaking in people's houses? Okay, he's going up the thing through the window. I'm like, excuse me, I don't understand. I don't understand. But they talk about it and they devise a plan. So this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna have Way publicly apologize to you and your homies for flicking y'all off at that sports bar, and then there'll be no reason to fight no more. Which That seemed like it's gonna be a good idea, and I thought it was gonna be a good idea, but I was sorely mistaken. So, Pat's friend, who's played by Drake, he's like, I don't care about no apologies, and they all start fighting. They all start fighting, and I'm like, here we go. But Prawn and Pat have to fake fight because they're not actually like enemies like everyone else is. So they're kind of like, ha ha ha, pretend to hit me, like, yeet. So they get away from all the fighting and they get caught by the principal dean guy. He's like, "Look, y'all gotta stop playing these games. All right, y'all lucky no one got hurt, but we gotta stop the fighting. We gotta stop the fighting." And then we cut to the boys patching up their wounds. And this scene right here kind of irked me because they were like, "Let's try to keep tabs on each other. Here's my line ID or chat ID," but they were too proud to give each other the ID, so they sat there and it was weird. Like he said, "Oh, I don't want to put my number in your phone, but you put yours in mine." He was like, "I'm not gonna do that." So they was like, "Oh, let's just find each other and then we'll add each other that way." I was like, "Y'all are such dorks. Y'all are such dorks. I don't for why." Now we do get some more sentimental flashbacks of when they were friends, I guess, because during the first flashback they did show them kind of being competing in school and being like, jerks to each other because of the family, but then you also see flashbacks of them kind of being friends. We see that Pat used to always sneak up in his room all the time back in the day. We find out in the dormitory they are cross the hall neighbors, which is going to be very interesting based on that preview for episode 2. All right, guys, that's my recap of Bad Buddy episode 1. I really like this episode. It was very fun. It established a lot of things. It had a good pacing, which there's some dramas, especially when they add like flashbacks when people are kids that kind of drag on too long. Um, I'm talking to you, Lovely Writer. Lovely Writer they had a whole episode of the flashbacks, and I was like, oh my god, this is aggravating and I'm bored. But this show did a really good job with it. I'm excited to see what happens next. So far, I do like our leads. They seem they're antagonistic towards each other, but they seem very likable people. I can see why their friends kind of like follow them and kind of have them around. I like the leads. I like Pat's sister. Um, I do foresee some issues. I think it's gonna be like a Romeo and Juliet kind of situation with these two. They seem like already kind of have to like hide their friendship or their frenemy situation. So we'll see what happens next. Let me know your thoughts below. If you enjoyed this episode, let me know. If you did enjoy it, let me know why. And I will see you guys in the next video.